Alright, YouTube, it's time for some more Memetic occultism, some more propaganda, you could say. My favorite band of all time, Depeche Mode, has decided to delve into the fray here with their new single, Where's the Revolution, from their new album called Spirit, which is coming out in March. And it's a blatantly political song, let's face it. Now, first let me address like critics of the band. There have been songs have you ever heard People Are People? They've already done political material before. Some people are saying, oh, I didn't want them to do political material. I just wanted them to sing about sin and redemption and stuff like that. And then there are other people, of course, who hate that. Oh, Martin Gore's talentless now. All he does is talk about darkness. It's kind of the point. Yeah, I like everything that they've ever made. So in full disclosure here, I'm biased. They're my favorite band. I've probably listened at this point to everything that they've done. And I like it all. Live performances, demos and rough cuts, alternate versions, remixes. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a Depeche Mode. I like it. I also like all the work of all the sort of spin-off acts and groups. Dave's solo work. I thought the Paper Monsters and Hourglass were great. I like Recoil. I like Yazoo. I like Erasure. I like all of it. It's all great to me. Anything. It literally doesn't matter. They could be sitting there talking about diarrhea. I'd still watch it at this point. But if you listen to this song, it's actually kind of interesting. Some of the terminology used, like the train is coming, so get aboard. It's almost like an allusion to the Trump train or something. I think, though, at the end of the day, this song is mostly meant to simply mock the confused political situation that the world is undergoing. You have a huge amount of alienation in the world, both left and right. It doesn't really matter. And everybody keeps talking about how we're headed to World War III. Everything's terrible. All is chaos. There's nothing but hate and darkness in the world. And yet nobody's actually willing to like stand up for what they believe in. It could also be seen as a generic anti-establishment song, really. Now, you got to remember where the band is from. If you look at what's happening in the UK right now, it's fairly self-explanatory. The establishment there, it's like these old guard parties. They're all globalist. They do piss on people. And perhaps England today is a little bit different than England was in the 70s or the 80s, back when the main enemy was communism. Back when the main enemy was communism, the West had to set itself apart from the Eastern world and say, we will stand for freedom, we will stand for liberty. Unpopular opinions, okay, you can, as long as you're not a commie, I guess, you can go ahead and have them. We will respect your right to speak that way. Now, though, it's not the same. Now, though, you have nothing but suppression. The same liberals and conservatives, honestly, in the Western world that always talked a big talk about how great freedom was, now actively suppress it in different forms, depending upon their personal opinions. We've gotten to the point where virtually the entire establishment in any Western nation is authoritarian. So I think this may be a statement against that, or a statement in favor of chaos, honestly. An exasperated statement that the world was not supposed to go in this direction. The Soviet Union's gone. The struggle that we had when we were young, we meaning the members of Depeche Mode, the struggle that existed at that time, the sort of formulated society at that time, is gone. And yet things are no better. In fact, they're arguably worse. Things are more chaotic, more troublesome, more violent in many ways now than they ever were during the Cold War. That wasn't supposed to happen. When the Cold War ended, it was supposed to be, 1,000 years of peace. Well, we're going to be so prosperous. There are no more enemies to fight. We won. Now liberty can perpetuate itself everywhere. Pretty soon, the world, it won't be perfect, but it'll be about as close to perfect as we can get it. Everyone can speak their mind. Look, we got the internet now, too. We can speak our minds there. Oh, it's going to be great. We're going to have so many cool movies, so much awesome music, and all that. It's going to be a non-stop party forever. And then 9/11 happens, and of course, the Western world falls right back into infighting and stupidity. So it may be an exasperated statement against simply the state of the world, and politics is part of that at large. Or it could be actually a dig at the left, basically saying, oh, well, you used to be left, you used to stand for something and want a revolution, now you're just the establishment. Or it could be an attack upon the rise of the alt-right, I suppose, but if you look at the terminology used, I don't think so. So I'm trying to figure out, because they don't usually make overtly political material, it can be a little bit difficult to even really determine what, if any, political affiliations they have. I like to think that they're probably like apolitical. They probably just fucking hate everybody in politics, which is a pretty good thing to do. You know, you've got this band when they were much younger, back in the 80s, when the Soviet Union existed. Their music was like banned over there for, I can't remember exactly what they banned it for. It was some insane moralist crap, sort of like the censorship now that happens like through the FCC and crap like that. There shouldn't be any FCC. FCC shouldn't even exist. It's the same thing though. They look around, they see the same crap now that they have to deal with being in the Western world as the Soviet Union perpetuated back in the 1980s, sort of like the Reagan and Thatcherite era and stuff like that. I think it probably does lead to some exasperation. And the fact, I'll say this, in further defense of the band's work, a lot of people are like, oh, Delta Machine sucked, and now it sounds like Delta Machine 2.0. What are you fucking talking about? What the fuck are you smoking? This is one of the very small number of acts that's even active for that many decades, let alone still capable of spawning something that rises even to number 99 on the charts. Now, I don't think music is a popularity pissing contest. Their music, honestly, is more popular in Eastern Europe than almost anywhere else. Eastern Europe and Germany. Although I can imagine people in Germany, they'll have too much censorship soon to listen to that song as well. You know, you look at Europe, this song will probably be censored in some parts of Europe. Oh, these rabble-rousing hippies or these horrible alt-righters or something like that. It's probably what'll end up happening. Maybe the song's a dig at them. Maybe the song's a dig at just censorship in a general sense. You know, you've been pissed on for too long. Yeah, makes sense. Doesn't matter if a person's left or right. They're all getting pissed on by the same people. Bunch of authoritarians that hold court in some marble hall in some big government building somewhere. It's exactly the same crap. But I think, I do not believe that the members of Depeche Mode are far leftists. I don't believe that. This is like a Basildon band, you know, from like working class small town England. It's not exactly some new art movement from the middle of London or something like that. Two totally different situations. You got people from the more working class background that made it big. They've got the best of both worlds. They understand what it's like to be normal individuals. They also understand what it's like to have #1 hits and millions of dollars. When you get when you get a person who's been in multiple economic tiers, it seems that they often understand more about the world than someone who has remained in their economic tier, whatever that tier is. Someone who's born into wealth, they stay wealthy. Someone who's born into poverty, they're still poor. Someone who's born into the middle class, they're still middle class. They've never experienced life from those other perspectives. Whereas here you've got Dave, who's like a fucking car thief when he was younger, who's, you know, fallen in basically dead numerous times in his life. Who now is, you know, he could buy and sell your ass at this point. Yeah, he probably has a different perspective than the average person happens to have. And I'll point one thing else out here in this video. And I've said this before. Just because I idolize their music and I like everything they produce doesn't mean that I think that there's some great visionaries in a philosophical sense. But if I look here, I do see multiple layers of understanding it. It appears to be memetic in nature. That's my gut instinct is this is memetic. This is a form of propaganda with multiple meanings, which gives you sort of that no-lose scenario that I've spoken of before. And if that's actually the intent, if that's what this is, yeah, this album's going to do pretty well. They're rising back. It'll be better than Delta Machine. I didn't have a problem with it anyway. Even the lesser songs, like some of the old B-sides that they did. Hell, I think Ice Machine is one of their best songs. And I say that unironically. I just enjoy listening to it, especially if you have a system that has enough bass. Then it sounds even better. I'll listen to, I'd put every song they've ever produced in every form it's ever been produced in on a never-ending loop, listen to that for the rest of eternity. I'd be perfectly happy. It's the one band of all. There are certain single songs that I like better than any of Depeche Mode's work. Like if I were to give you my top 10 favorite songs, only one of them would be a Depeche Mode song. It'd be Enjoy the Silence, predictably. But at the same time, if I'm looking at which band or artist or whatever do I appreciate the most of their work from, it's Depeche Mode. You know, they span 4 fucking decades, and everything that they've ever produced has been listenable. How many bands can you say that about? They never sold out and did an acoustic album or any of that crap. Like, I remember Cyndi Lauper did that. I thought it was terrible. Then she went back to dance music, and it was okay. Into the nightlife. That was a good return for her. But I mean, she did this fucking acoustic album. She's on the news. It's like, you know, you're used to the punky rock girl who screams and talks about masturbation and stuff. And all of a sudden, she's sitting there looking like a vegan cafe owner, plinking away on one of those little like karimba things and sort of just gently crooning. It's just not fucking the same. I hope that Depeche Mode never does something like that. It would be a big mistake. That's about all. Peace out.